we have in our midst a very good facilitator, someone that I have gotten so much insight on, that I've been privileged to listen to his class. So we have Mr. Tomisin Olatoye with us here this evening to take us this class. But before we go into the class, of course, we have our ground rules, which we are familiar with by now: punctuality. And we have been doing well, but we can still do so well today. So please, nobody is late, but by now, formally, we are late to the class. So please, let's still have, let's call all our students to come into the class right now. So we want to have an open mind, which we have been doing our best. And of course, it's going to be one class, and you guys are going to participate at the end of the class. You're going to ask your questions. So if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat. Also, let's respect each other. Of course, we know that everyone deserves respect, and ask questions. There are no stupid questions. Ask questions as regards this class. Ask questions so you can be clear. And your microphones are muted. Please, you have to know that your microphones are muted. So if you have any question, just raise your hand before you speak, and I'm going to activate your microphone. So before we go into the facilitator, who is talking to you right away, you have to, I'm the one moderating the class. So who am I? My name is Kasali Samson. I'm happy to moderate this section today. Last 2 years, I was one like you. I joined the analytics Corper workshop just like you 2 years ago. And I got so much insight from this particular bootcamp that helped me to get an opportunity in supply chain and operations in one of the big four in Nigeria, EY Nigeria. So today, I work with EY Nigeria in a supply chain operation, and I have about 2 years experience from this same bootcamp. And I know someone today is also aspiring to become one. And also, I'm aspiring to get my certification in Power BI, and I built some solutions and developed some dashboard for public institutions in Nigeria. So right away, I'm going to read to us about our facilitator profile that I'm very, very excited to read out to you. Then it's going to come up on stage. Mr. Oluwatomisin Olatoye is a Power BI developer with 10 years experience in learning and development. He also has more than 3 years business intelligence experience with Power BI. He's also a team lead. He has built several data projects that cut across analytics in global communities. And he has also trained over 2,000 participants on Power platforms, Power BI, Power Apps, Excel, and SQL. So today we are talking about SQL. So please, I want you to pay full attention because you're going to be learning from one of the world best facilitator. And also he has built robust analytic system solution for various organizations across different industry that ranges from oil and gas, education, energy, governmental, and etc. And he's also a speaker. He has been a speaker at the Global Power Platform Bootcamp, and he has facilitated on leadership. And of course, he made his career transition to data analytics after a decade experience as a biology science lecturer. Wow. So if you are happy to see this kind of profile, I want you to just react. And, coming from a biological science background to data analytics, this is something so wonderful. So I want you to just react and clap. You have your react button. Just if you are happy to bring in Mr. Oluwatosin, can you kindly react to this? I won't bring him, so just react to this. This is so wonderful. We are going to be learning from one of our champions this evening. So Mr. Oluwatosin, we are happy to have you. You can have the mic now, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samson. Good evening, everyone. Please confirm that you can hear me very well. Hello, Samson. Can you please confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, they can hear you. Their microphones are muted. They can hear you loud and clear.
Oh,
Yanu said
thank
loud and clear. Yes.
thank you very much, Yanolua. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm sure your journey into data analytics have been interesting so far with the analytics Corper workshop. It's been an awesome experience for me too. We're watching from the sideline all the trainings, all the classes that you've had, and I want to be sure that you've had so much, you've learned so much, and then you are practicing the things you are learning. All right, so as it has been said, my name is Oluwatomisi Olatoye. Currently, I work as a Power BI developer with an oil and gas and energy company here in Nigeria. And as Samson read, I've had 10 years experience, previous experience in learning and development. So I call it learning and development because, yeah, what I do borders around training and then developing courses and all of that. And at a point, I had to make a decision to make a transition. And then I asked myself, where do I want to get into? There were many options, obviously, many options of what to take, but I needed to get back into myself, look deep within, and then there's a story to how I eventually decided to join, go for data analytics elite. Maybe today is not the day for that story, or maybe I'm able to tell the story somewhere along the line. And it gives me great joy to be here with you. I'm sure that we're going to learn a lot this afternoon. So confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen, sir. We can see it.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so this afternoon, we have so much to do within the 1 hour time that we have, but we'll see how much we can get done within the time allocated for this training. So today we are looking at introduction to SQL querying and data manipulation. So going back to our training, we've done something on data literacy and why data is important. We've looked at Excel as a tool for data analysis, looking at the different functions in Excel. And then we've carried out 1 or 2 projects, I guess, in Excel. And then we've gone on to look at Power BI as a visualization tool. Of course, I'm sure you've been told that Power BI is not the only visualization tool. There are others like your Tableau, your Looker Studio, and all of that. And then we are coming gradually to that stage where you can then beat your chest that you are ready for enterprise level data analysis. Enterprise level data analysis. At least now we want to get into the deeper waters of what it means to work as a data analyst within a large organization. Okay, so that is a part of what we're going to be looking at today, and I want you to please pay attention. So our agenda is very simple. Of course, we go through the introduction. We understand what databases are, and then SQL as a language. We look at SQL syntax and languages, and then we'll go on to the workshop. I'll call it the workshop. We are going to really do a demo on some of the things that we might have talked about. Okay, so and then we'll summarize. So quickly, just something to cheer us up as we set out to learn this evening. The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill, but the willingness to learn is a choice. I'm sure you've heard this from Adewale. And of course, I need to say a very big thank you to Adewale Yusuf, my boss, for this platform. You know, when you had this saying that I'm going to give you a place amongst the greats. I remember when I was starting out my journey in data analytics, and then I was looking out for who are the people I could look up to in the industry at that time. And then I came about the D Brown Consulting Bootcamp, and which Adewale Yusuf at that time was spearheading, was leading, alongside with people like Pelumi Aroshaye and Joseph Fadero, and then that was how I came in contact with Adewale Yusuf, got on that boot camp. That was 2023, yes, 2023. And then from there, the journey has been interesting. So I'm grateful for this platform created by Adewale Yusuf and the other people that have been part of this journey. This is Analytics Corper Workshop 4.0. So you can imagine that several other corpers have also passed through this training. And like Samson said, 2 years ago, he was also in the training like this. And today he can boldly say that he's doing well. The guy is doing well. Okay, so and then it comes from the place of learning. Now, the beautiful thing about learning is that it never stops rewarding those who stay curious. Learning never stops rewarding if you stay curious. So this evening, I'm appealing to you, stay curious. If you have questions, pen them down, and then at any point in time you feel like putting the questions on the chat box, please put it there. Something will come our attention, and then we'll look at it. Okay, so a lot have been said about this. I don't have to go through this again. So quickly, we want to look at SQL, introduction to SQL querying and manipulation. But there's no way we'll talk about SQL without really talking about the basis or the reason for SQL. And the reason why SQL exists is because there is what we call a database. That's what is called a database. So who can tell us what is a database? What do you understand a database to be? Anybody? Samson, you can just help me check if people are putting in their comments. What do you think a database is?
Okay, I have Alimat Folashadi's hand up. Do you want to answer the question? Okay, so
let's give her the choice opportunity to do that if she's asked for she wants to answer the question.
All right, so Mustura, you can go ahead and answer the question. Your mic is unmuted.
Okay, good afternoon. Please, am I audible? Good afternoon.
Yes, you can project.
Can you hear me? Okay, so you asked what is a database. So a database is an organized collection of data that is stored electronically. I'm putting emphasis on electronically because we are storing this data online. Like, it is not a physical store, it is an online data there.
Thank you very much. That's good. Yeah. So quickly, now, what do you see in this picture? Bookshelves, right? Yes. So imagine your database as a library. Of course, for all of us, we've been to school and then we've had a reason to go into the library at one time or the other to want to read books. And then when you need to get into the library, a library, as we know, is where books are stored, whether it's a physical library or an online library. And then one of the things that happens about a library is that books are arranged according to predefined parameters. So sometimes they are arranged according to the subject, say economics, government. They could be arranged according to the alphabet. But basically, the first thing is according to subject. So you have a shelf of that is for law. You have a shelf of books for medicine. You have a shelf of books for economics and all of that. And within those shelves, right, then you then have the books arranged, organized alphabetically, so that when somebody walks into the library and wants to pick a particular book on a particular subject, he knows exactly, of course, with the help of the librarian, It knows exactly where to get to, where to go to, so as to pick the book. Because imagine how it's going to be if the books are not arranged and that there is no label on the bookshelves, and then you need to get a book. Imagine how tedious it will be to go through all the shelves trying to find a book. So a database is like a library where data are organized and are stored electronically. So, and of course, like each book has an identifier. The same way, each data, when stored in a database, they are organized in a way that it's easy to get them. So a database is a structured collection of data that is organized and stored electronically in a format that can be easily accessed. Those are key things to take note of: structured, organized, stored electronically in a format that it can be easily accessed. So there's no joy in storing data, and then when you need to retrieve it, it becomes an hassle. It becomes a problem. So a good database, as we're going to see, is one that is structured and then properly organized for anybody that wants to work on that data to be able to work with it. And for enterprise level operations, data are stored majorly on databases. Of course, we're going to get to see that as we move on. Now, what are some of the key characteristics of a database? Number one is organization. Organization. That is the key, one principal attribute of a good database. Organization. The data are arranged and are placed in specific tables, well arranged for anybody to be able to access them. Number two, storage. So a database has the capacity to store millions, billions of rows of data on a computer, which is typically called a server. All right. So you have data, take for example, think of the banks in Nigeria currently. You can walk into any of the branches of any of the banks, and then you can access your details just from the person sitting right behind a computer. How is it possible that your details, you open your account maybe when you were a student in maybe in Enugu State, and now you have been posted to Ogun State, and you need to access your account, and then you walk into any of the banks in your current state, and then they're able to access the details you used to open the account in Enugu State. Is because those data, those information were stored in the database. So when you approach a banker or a bank and then you are requesting for details, what they simply do is to retrieve the data. They're able to retrieve your data by using any of the applications that is connected to the database. So they use an application as connected to the database, and the language the database understands is SQL. So yes, a database, organization, storage, retriever, and management. So sometimes you hear something that you go to a bank and you hear something like the server is down, and so we cannot do anything. Now, what is that saying? Now, at that instant, it's possible that they cannot communicate with the database. They couldn't communicate with the database, so they could not retrieve your data. And because they could not retrieve your data, they will not be able to do anything that you are requesting for them to do. So that is how important a database is in enterprise operations. Every data, customer data, operational data, logistics data is stored in the database because that is what they will be able to use to carry out their operations and make decisions. Now, we talk about a database management system. So for every database, there's a database management system, which is used to connect to the database. So a database management system is a software, all right? It's a software that is installed on a server or a system, which then hosts the database. All right. And then the database contains the information. The DBMS, that's database management system, is the interface that interacts with the database. All right. And then the language that is used to communicate with the database is the SQL, structured query language. And then connected to the DBMS, you have different applications. So you have your ERP applications, you have your web applications. That's why you have on your phone, you can do different activities on your phone connecting to different databases. So, say for example, you can log into your Facebook on your phone at the same time on your laptop. You can log into different applications on your phone and on the laptop at the same time. Now, both of them, all of them are connected to the database where the data is being write into and then fetch from. So it's a two-way communication. Sometimes data is written into the database and sometimes data is retrieved from database. So you can see this guy here sitting right behind a system, and then on that system, all you just see an application. Now it could be an ERP application or a web application, a dynamic website, or a software application. Now, between that application is the SQL, which is now what is used to interact or to communicate with the DBMS, which is connected or which is connected to the database. So it's important that we understand this because this is enterprise level. So the things that you see out there, there is a back end to many of these things. Now let's go on. Now, common types of database quickly. We have the flat file. So if you have MSME, small businesses, most of them use Excel as their database. They store files, data in Excel. They can have several sheets within a workbook. That is a form of a database, right? But it has its limitations, as you probably have been told. Excel can only take 1 million rows of data. And then you can imagine if you're trying to query 1 million rows of data every time, then you must have a machine that is very powerful. Then you have relational databases. Now, these are databases that are organized in tables. So this contains tables which are arranged in rows and columns. And why it is called relational database is because it contains several tables. There are several tables, and these tables have relationships. There are relationships between these tables that connect them together. So you have something like the primary key, the foreign key, things like that. And examples of relational databases, we have the Microsoft SQL, we have MySQL, we have Postgres SQL, you have IBM DB, and you have Oracle. So these are just examples of relational databases. And then you have the non-SQL. They call them non-SQL or non-relational databases. All right. These ones are used sometimes in web applications, such applications. Please confirm that you can hear me.
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you loud and clear, sir. They can hear you, sir. You can go on, sir. Hi, guys. Can we just give him a few minutes? Maybe he's having network glitches. Okay, I think he left the call, so he will try to join back in soon. Okay, so he said his network went off. He's going to be joining back very soon. Apologies for that, guys.
So apologies. Something please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you,
Hello.
sir. You can carry on, sir. We can
Um,
hear you.
okay. Sorry for that. Okay, so where was I before my network went off?
Yeah, you explained the type of database, the data warehouse.
Okay. Let's pick it up from there very quickly. All right, so let me just rush to. So yeah, we are on databases. So I've talked about flat file database, relational database, non-relational or non-SQL database, and then we have data warehouses. So these largely are cloud-based warehouses. So you have things like the Snowflake, Amazon Redshift, and then Google BigQuery. So as you progress in your data analytics journey, you get to move from maybe Excel. You start with Excel, moving on to the relational databases, and then maybe you may have interaction with the non-SQL database, and then to the data warehouses, the cloud-based ones. Now, a relational database, quickly, like I said, comprises of different tables. And why it is relational is because these tables are connected by a relationship. So, say for example, you have a business, they have a list of customers, they have a list of their products, and they have a list, a table for their sales personnel and the different regions. So now they have to bring all of this together into one location. All right, where the customer table can interact with the product table and then with the sales table, so that if I need to fetch data about how much product a particular salesperson has sold, and then who are the customers or the client that salesperson is serving, I can at one go see all of that. So that's a relational database. All the information are related together by a relationship. So we have something like a foreign key and a primary key, and which are used for the connections. And then the tables, like you all know, they're made up of rows and columns. Okay, let's go on quickly because we have so much to get done. So quickly now, let's move on to SQL. So we talked about the database. So the database is where data is stored. It's just a store of data. Okay, that's where data is stored. But a stored data is not important, is not beneficial to the organization if they cannot retrieve the data, if they cannot communicate with the data. So say for example now, a new app is launched. Now in developing the app, they have connected the app to a database. So every time you sign up on a new app, for example, and you download the app and then you sign up, the first thing they do is to request certain information. Now, those information are stored directly into the database at the back end. Now, for a company that wants to know, okay, so last year, how many customers do we have? How many people have downloaded our app? How many people have signed up on our app? They cannot know on the front end because the information is stored in database at the back end. So for them to be able to get an insight into what is happening at the back end, they need to be able to communicate with the database. And that is where SQL comes in. So the SQL is a structured query language. So some people call it SQL, some people call it SQL. So you are at liberty to choose whichever one it works for you, SQL or SQL. Of course, there's an history or a story behind the pronunciation. So whichever one is okay for you, you are good to go. Now, SQL is a language. Okay, who understand what is here on the screen? What language is this on the screen? Anybody? Does anybody understand? Oh, Jan, what is SQL? So which language is it? Which language is this? French. Very good. French. I'm sure that some people are just looking at it. They can see the letters, but they cannot say what exactly it is. So you can imagine if you need something from somebody, all right, and then you are speaking a language the person does not understand. You have a good intention, the person has a good intention, but the two of you cannot communicate with each other. Then there's no interaction, then nothing will happen. So the same way, the language that your database understands, that you use to retrieve data from the database and even to write into a database is SQL. So SQL is a standard programming language that is used to manage and manipulate relational databases. So if you are dealing with a relational database, then the knowledge of SQL is very, very important. Now, it is used to add data to tables, read the data, update it, and then delete anything we don't need anymore. So, of course, you know about different data roles. You have your database administrator, you have your data engineer, you have your data analyst, you have your data scientist. You have different people working on different things, but everybody has to feed, as it were. They get their supply of data from what is in the database. Okay, so each of those roles, they have a need to know SQL to be able to interact with the database. Now, every time you use SQL to do something in the database, it is called a query. A query. Now, what's another word for query? What's another word for query? What's another word for query? A statement. Okay, statement. A question. So when you say query, is a question. Yeah, thank you. Question, instruction, code. So you are literally you are asking questions from the database. You are asking questions and then you are retrieving answers from the database because What businesses need is actually answers. Your line manager, your MD, your CEO is not interested in the database as it were. One is interested in what sense can I make of the data. So you as data analyst, we are responsible for making sense of that data. Now, why is SQL important? Look at this picture. What can you see? I need to run. And look at this picture. What can you see? Now, you see that every one of these people, the BI analyst, the database administrator, the cybersecurity analyst, the full stack developer, the AI or ML engineer, the ETL developer, the cloud engineer, data scientist, data analyst, everybody is feeding from the same place, and that is the database. If you are going to develop a model, for example, a machine learning model, you need data. You need data. And where is data stored? The database. How do you fetch the data from the database? You need SQL. All right. So this is why SQL is important. It is important to write data into database. It is important to retrieve data from database. SQL is important because of its scalability. It helps you to be versatile in working with data. Now, quickly, let's look onto some SQL commands. Some SQL commands, because like we said, SQL is a language. And so in learning a language, there are certain things that are important for us to learn. You know, we talk about grammar, we talk about syntax, they talk about, in English, they say something like your verb and your pronoun, your noun must agree. So that is where you make a good communication of English. When you speak bad English, one lot is tabon, okay? Because sometimes you might be speaking and then the person you are speaking to does not understand what you are saying. So there is an agreed way to speak when you are speaking SQL as a language. So we want to look at some of the SQL commands or language. Now, the first one is called the data definition language, DDL. Now, this one is used to write into the database. It is used to define what should happen in the database. So you have commands like create, alter, drop, or truncate. So when you want to create a database or a table, you use the create command. When you want to change what is in a table that is in a database, you use the alter. When you don't need a table again, and you want to take it out of your database, there is no delete. What you use is drop. So that is the command drop. And I want you to look at the right side of the screen where you have the red mark. It shows you the syntax of how these words or these commands is used. So say, for example, you want to create a table, you write create table, then you specify the table name. In this case, employees. And then you now specify what columns should be on this table. What columns should this table have? So you have the employee ID, and then you specify the data type. Of course, you know that different data types. We have the integer, we have the strings, we have the whole number, we have the boolean, different data types. So you specify the data type. So employee ID is integer, that is a number, which also is the primary key. You have the first name. Then you have, this is variable character. That means it can take either a number or letters. And then the 50 in front of it says anything between 1 and 50 characters. Between 1 and 50 characters, can be entered into that column. So this is the first definition language. Then you have alter, which is used to change or modify a column in an existing data. You have the drop, which is a command that is used to drop an existing table in a database. All right. Then you have the truncate command, which is used to delete a data inside a table, but not the table itself. All right. Please, are we together?
Yes, yes, we are together, sir.
I hope I'm not too fast.
No, no, people are reacting, so we are together.
Okay.
We are on a
All right.
good pace.
Well, thank you. So we're going to try and demonstrate this as we go on. So we're going to create a database that is called ACW, and then we're going to try and create a table also. Create a table, and then we're going to look at this as we move on. Then the next is the data manipulation language or command. So this is the one that you use to manipulate what is already existing within the table. So say, for example, you want to retrieve. So you have the select command, which is used to retrieve data from a database. You retrieve data from a database, use the select command. You want to insert a new record into an existing table. You use the insert command. So if you look at the syntax, it says insert into customers. That's the table. The first name and the last name. Now, those are the columns in the customer table. Then what values should I insert? Mary and Doe. So it's like adding a new row of data in Excel. So if you want to add a new row of data in Excel, for example, in SQL, you use insert into the customer existing table, specifying the columns of that table, and then the values you want to insert into the table. Then you have the update. Update is used to modify existing records. So let's assume that somebody initially was deployed to Kaduna State. So on the NYSC database, the person's state of deployment will read Kaduna State. And then after the 3 weeks camp, the person decides to, what do you call it now, relocate or change their state of deployment. Now, we need to update that record. This person was initially sent to Kaduna State, but now he has now been relocated to Ogun State. So in the NYC record, NYC database, that has to be updated. So update table, whatever the table name is, where now everybody has a unique identifier. For every core member that is serving currently, there's a unique identifier, which is our column number or our state code. So look for that state code, and then they change the state of deployment to whatever it is they want it to be. And then you have the delete, which is used to remove records from a table. Quickly, we're still going to see how far we go with demonstrating this. So you have select from participants. You can do select column number, first name, deploy from participant, insert. We're going to demonstrate this quickly as time permits us. Then the last one is the data control language, which is used to give permission. It's used to grant permission. So you have the grant and the revoke. Because on an enterprise level, not everybody has permission to see all the data of the organization. So let's say you have a large organization that exists in different regions, the north, the south, the east, and the west, and then you have managers in each of these regions. and then you want to retrieve data for your own region. So you use the data control language, grant or revoke, to either grant you permission to be able to view, to be able to call out data for your region. And then if for any reason somebody leaves an organization, now they can revoke that permission from that person. So these are the common commands that you are going to come across in SQL as we move on. You have the data definition language, the data manipulation language, the data control language, and then the last one is the data query statements. The data query statement, which is the one you're going to probably be working with more. The select statement, the where clause, the other by clause, the group by clause, and then the having clause. So basically, the primary statement that every person needs to know in SQL is select. Select so and so. You specify the columns. The columns you want to retrieve from, then you specify the table. So that's the syntax. Select, you specify the columns from, then the tables that you are interested in searching data from. Now, when you need to filter the rows, that is where the other clause comes in. When you need to filter, you don't want to see everything. You want to put a condition. Of course, you know in Excel, we talk about conditional statements. If, count if, sum if. So you use the where clause in SQL. Then other by is used to arrange the data, either ascending order or descending order. Then the group by is used to aggregate. Is used to aggregate all the data for a particular specified column or grouping. And then the having clause is also a conditional statement that is used to define what you need to retrieve from the database. Any questions so far? Do you have anyone with questions before we move on? Okay, let's take a deep breath. Any questions?
Please, if you have any question, kindly signify why I omit your microphones. So, Iyanolua Amos, you can ask your question now.
Yeah, good evening. Good
Yeah, good
evening.
evening.
Yes, I wanted to ask about, is there a difference between the where clause and the having clause? Because you mentioned that they're both for filtering out the data. So like what is the difference between both of them? Thank you.
So, okay. So a where clause is used to filter rows based on specified conditions. So you want to filter the rows based on specified condition. So let's say you want to select all our participants from a table where the call-up number or state code is so, 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 and so. So in that instance, it's only going to fetch for data of any participant whose call-up number is exactly where I have that call-up number. Now, the having clause is used when you have grouped a data. When you have grouped a data and then you want to filter a grouped data. You want to filter a grouped data. That is when you have the having clause. So that is where like a distinction between the two of them. So a where clause filters along all the table. But when you have used the group by clause, if you have used a group by clause in your statement, and then you want to filter, then what you use is the having clause. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Any other questions?
All right, Moses Ahama, can you please ask your question? Your mic is unmuted.
Hello, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Please, I want to appeal if it is possible at the end of the day we have the lectures live, please. I don't know if it is possible, but somehow I feel that we are rushing it and trying to pick some notes down. I'm not getting all together. Please, that's my appeal. It's a request, please.
Okay, but
All right.
you can also pick it from the videos, but that's not a problem. I will discuss my boss if he allows me to. No problem.
Okay, I don't think we have any other question now. We can move on, sir.
Okay, so like my there's this saying that Raji is raising up his hand.
Okay, so Raji Oladimeji, your mic is unmuted. You can speak.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
sir. I really appreciate your efforts. Thanks a lot. My own question is that with this SQL, can we have a dashboard after we query all our data stuff? So can we have a dashboard? Can we build a dashboard with SQL? And if we can, how? And if we can't, how? That's my first question. And my second question is that, can I remember? Maybe you should answer that first.
Okay,
Are we
so
still
now the SQL is not a visualization tool. All right, rather it's a querying tool that is used to query your database. So with SQL, you cannot build a dashboard. You cannot build a dashboard, but you can use SQL to do what we call ad hoc reporting. That is, your manager, for example, says, I need the count of customers that has been with us over the last 5 years. And then all this information is stored in your database. Now, and it needs that report maybe in another 1 hour for my meeting to make a decision. That is not the time to be thinking of a visualization or a dashboard. What you want to do very quickly is connect to the database using your database management system, and then retrieve those information as quickly as possible. Okay. Of course, you can connect your visualization to, let's say, your Power BI, your Tableau. You can connect them to your SQL server, your server directly. You can connect them to the server directly, and then you can fetch or pull data from the server into your visualization tool. Of course, I'm sure already have been told in Power BI, there are two ways you can connect to data. There is import mode and there is direct query mode. Have you been told that in Power BI? There is import mode and there is direct query. So you can connect your visualization to your database and use that to fetch data to do your visualization if you want to. But if you need instant answers to questions or queries, then your SQL is a go-to to get that done. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, sir. I really appreciate that. My second question is that can we differentiate or can we call SQL a coding stuff also?
Yes, SQL is actually a programming language too. It's a programming language, only that in SQL, you communicate with the database like you are speaking normal English. So it's just like, say, for example, I'm saying, okay, so I want somebody, I have 3 bags in my room. Each of those bags contains different colors of balls. and I want somebody to go to my room, for example, to pick something from one of the bags. Okay, say let's say I have 3 bags, a blue, yellow, and green bag. And in those bags, we have different colors of balls. And I want somebody to go into one of those bags to bring a yellow ball. So what will I tell the person? I will say, go to my room, find the blue bag, and bring a yellow ball, right? So in SQL, to do that in SQL, I'll say, select a yellow ball from a blue bag, no, something like that, where the color, okay, select a ball from a blue bag where the color of the ball is yellow. So that is what happens in SQL. So you communicate, the language of SQL is like you are speaking normal English. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, sir. I really appreciate that. My last question, sir, please
Okay, go ahead,
don't
go
be
ahead,
offended.
go ahead. No problem.
My last question is somehow funny to me, but I have to ask:
Okay.
is that can I become a guru in this SQL? I mean, basically SQL, because I noticed that Excel is something wide. Likewise, I think this SQL also will be, something maybe wide or so. So that's the reason why I'm asking if I can become good, because I notice some industry or some companies or organizations, they will say I need something that know Excel, or somebody that know Power BI, or somebody that know SQL. They will be specific, somehow specific. So that's the reason why I'm asking if I haven't know where I will work in the future, in the maybe probably next month or so. So that's the reason why I'm asking.
There's something like an SQL developer. Okay, there's something like an SQL developer or ETL developer. If you look at this picture, you see, yeah, an SQL developer. There's my pointer. Yeah, see this guy here, the ETL developer.
Yes.
So an ETL developer is basically someone that is able to extract, transform, and load data. And of course, another way, so this person is skilled in communicating with different databases and then retrieving databases and then putting it in a form that every other person, whether a data scientist, a data analyst, can also work with. So yes, you can actually learn SQL to a level that it becomes your core. It becomes your core skill, and then you find relevance working with any of these people and in any organization where they work with big data. Any organization that works with big data, then SQL is relevant. Okay, so Elisha said I was making an illustration about a manager needing a report to show to management. Yes. So now sometimes what your manager needs is the figures. It's interesting to know that the work of a data analyst, as interesting as it is, the major bulk of the work is done on the back end. That visualization that you see, that beautiful dashboard that you see, is like is a good part of the work. But if your analysis is wrong and you build a beautiful dashboard, it is nonsense to your manager. So your ability to be able to retrieve data in the correct format and then be able to show the numbers is the principal skill, sorry. But of course, the visualization tool helps you to present those numbers in a beautiful format. So sometimes the manager can just say, I need this report, numbers, that's what they're after. So how many customers do we have? How many customers have left? How many customers do we have in this region? How many products do we have in store? Things like that. And you want to quickly fetch those information of the database, then you use your SQL. Okay, so let's go on so that we'll, at the end of the class, we'll have more time for questions. So by now, I expect everybody have downloaded the Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, that's your the server that you're going to be using. And then you've also downloaded the SSMS, the SQL Server Management Studio. So your SSMS is used to communicate with the server. So the two of them work together. So you have your server where you have the database, then you have your SSMS, which is like an interface, and ID, Integrated Development Environment, which is used to communicate with your server. Okay, so let's go on straight to the server we want to use. So we are using the SSMS, that's the Microsoft Studio, the Microsoft Management Studio, Microsoft SQL Management Studio. So I'm here now on my SSMS. Okay, if you are just launching it for the first time, you will have something like this. So usually, when okay, let me disconnect so that I can connect back. Okay, so when you are starting, this is what it pops up. So this is the interface that you are trying to connect to this SQL server. Now, this server is currently located on my local machine. It's located on my system. So it's asking for the server type. They are using a database engine. What is the server name? Now, this server name is configured when you install your SQL server. And basically what it does is it uses the name of your system, the name of your laptop as your server name. And then your authentication is your Windows authentication, what you use to log in normally into your laptop. And then once you have all of this fixed, then you can then connect. So it now is connecting to the server that is on my system. So you can see now, this is the server, and then this is the default database that comes with it. So you have here now the system databases. These are default databases that comes with it when you install it. But now we are going to be working on two approaches. I hope time allows us to get that done. We're going to be looking at two approaches. We are going to be writing codes to create a database on this server and then insert data into the database. Are we together, please? Let me see your reactions. Are we together?
Yes, we are together, sir. They are reacting.
All right, thank you very much. So to start with, you come to this place where you have new query. Samson, please let me know how many minutes do I have left. I know our time is up, but how many minutes do I have left so I know how far I can go?
Okay, so it actually 1 hour 4 to 5, but we can do to 5:30.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I'll take like 10, 15 minutes more, then we'll have questions. So you come to new query. So when you click on new query, it automatically opens a place for you where you can start communicating with your database in the language of the SQL, structured query language. So when you are writing your SQL, it's always good also that you take notes to document what you are trying to do. So that way, you also be able to understand what you are doing, and anybody that is seeing your line of code or what you are doing can also get a glimpse or understanding of what you are trying to do. So when you want to just make a note of what you want to do, you can use this double dash. So when you click this double dash, any other thing you write after the double dash will be like a note taking. So we want to create a new database. So that's what we want to do now. Now, remember, we talked about the data definition language, and the first data definition language is the create command, which is what you use to create anything into the database. So the first thing we want to do, we want to create a database, and then we want to name our database ACW for DB. So we are saying we are naming this database ACW as Analytical Workshop DB, so that everybody that sees know that it's a database. So the moment you write this, you can come to here, execute, or you press F5 on your keyboard. So the moment I click execute, that is run. Can you see? Commands completed successfully. So now we have created a new database on our server. So how do we know if our database has been created? So you come to this left side here, click on this refresh button, and then open up these databases. Can you see? We have a new database created with the name ACWDB. Now, if you look at this database now, automatically all these folders are created. But if you come to tables, you'll see that there are no tables. You'll see that there are no tables currently in this database. There are no tables in this database. So what we have now is like you created a Google form and then you send it out. Now, creating that Google form with all the questions is like you are creating the database, so to say. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to now create tables into this data. I want to create a table into a database. But because we have more than one database already on this server, it's always good to specify which of the database we want to use. You need to specify which of the database you want to use. So to do that, you can come here, look at this place. You have mass. Okay, so this gives you the list of all database you have currently on your server. So you see the one we just created, ACWDB. So you can either come here and click on this to select the database you want to use, or you can come here. So we want to say, choose the database to use. So to do that, we say use, then we call the name of our database ACW for DB. Okay, so we are choosing the database to use. Then once we execute this, good. Now we have specified. Can you see that this was changed? Okay, let me do that again. Initially, it was in master, right? Here it was in master, but the moment I execute this line of code, can you see? This was changed to AC database. So we have now specified that we want to use this particular database for our activities. Then next thing, we now want to create the table. We want to create a table into our database. Okay, to save time, I've already written the code snippet, so I'll just go around. I will explain what the table is all about. So the next thing is we want to create our table. Okay, so now we have the function or the language creates table. Now, what is the name of our table? Participants. Our table name is participants. Now, what columns should this table have? Now, first column, we want it to have a ID number. Now, what should be the data type? Integer. That's a number. And then we are saying not null. Now, this is what is called a constraint. A constraint. And what this is saying is that this particular column cannot be empty. So it's like when you are trying to fill a Google form and then you see this red asterisk on each of those columns. And so that if you don't fill those columns, you'll not be able to submit that form. I'm sure you've seen something like that before. That is like what this is saying. This column cannot be empty. Then the next column is the column number. We are saying this column number should have a data type called variable character, which means it can take number, letters, and special characters. And then the length of the character should be 25. And then we're also saying that this particular column should be the primary key. Of course, when you get to talk about database design and all of that, we'll talk more about what the primary key is. Then the first name, we're talking about the last name, the gender, the school, the course of study, the state of deployment, and then the age. So we are creating a table of participants of the Analytics Corper Workshop 4.0. And these are the details we are requesting, we want to have in that database. A ID number, their call-up number, the first name, the last name, their gender, the school they graduated from, their course of study, their state of deployment, and then their age. And then we are specifying the type of data that should be in each of these columns. So if I run this now, and I say execute, the command is successful. So our table has been created. Now let's confirm if this table has been created. So to confirm that, we can say select what's the name of our table? Participants. We are selecting participants. Sorry. Sorry. So we want to select the columns in this table. So we use asterisk. Asterisk means all. All. Select all the columns. And then from where are we selecting from? We are selecting from our table called participants. We are selecting from our table called participants. So if I run this query and I say execute, can you see? Now it has created the columns, the ID, the column number, the first name, the last name, the gender, the school, the course of study, state of deployment, and then the age. But now this is still an empty table. There are no values in this table. So next we want to add values to the table. Now, to add value to the table, we use another data definition language, which is called insert. So to save our time, let me just go and fetch my record already. Copy. So I'll say, ooh, this is ah, okay. Okay. I will not go through all of that, so let me just see. So let me just take a few of them to save our time. So I want to insert these values into our table. So I'm saying insert into the participant table these values. So this is the columns we have created. And then insert into this table okay. So I have this value now. So I'm saying insert into this participant table the column we have defined, the ID number, the call-up number, the first name, the last name, the gender, the school, the finish from, the course of study, the state of deployment, and then the age. Now, when you are writing a string, usually you use a single quote. When you're writing a string, you use a single quote of to demarcate or to show that this is a string. So you see that for every one of them that's a string of variable character, they are put within the single quotes. For those that are numbers, integers, you don't have to put the quote. So if I do this now, if I run this and say execute, now you see one row affected. So what it means is that one row of data has been added to our table. One row of data has been added to our table. Okay, so if we want to now check what is in the table now, again, we use our select statement. So we say select all from the participants. And then I'll run this again. Can you see? So we have this row, this data already inserted into our table. Let me see if I can add one or two more, and then I can do a few. Okay, 002, comma, Let me copy this number again. Then I will change something. Quotes. Quantify. Quotes. Okay. No. Comma, last name, gender, male. Comma, school, let's say Unilag, comma, cost of study, let's say state of deployment, FCT, and then age 24. And then you can close this bracket. Then yes. So I'm adding a new role of data. So if I do this again and then I execute, people. Okay. Wow. Okay, yeah. It's not the same thing. Okay, I don't know why I throwing up this. This and this are not the same. So somebody is not supposed to throw up this error. But just let me just take that out then, so that it doesn't confuse us. Okay. Apologies for this. Now, do we get something from what I've just shared? I'm sure the next person coming after me rather, will do more justice into these aspects of things. So this basically is what you do if you need to insert value into, create a database, create your table, and then insert values into the table that you have created. And then using your select statement, select all from participants. Let's try and run this again. Let's see. So this is working. So use this to retrieve data from the database. So this is the introduction to SQL query and manipulation. I'm sure the next person that will come up tomorrow, next week, as the case may be, will go more in depth into this. Now our time is up, and there's something else I would have loved to show us, but our time is up, and then I don't want to keep us any further. So Samson, any questions? If there are any questions on what we have done so far, any questions, please?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tominsin. I think Mr. Tominsin deserves a round of applause. Can we just appreciate him? He has done a very good work. So please, if you are still on this call, just appreciate him, give him your best shout out. Thank you so much, sir. So in the next 5 minutes, okay, Angela said you should keep us. All right. We can't go beyond this time, actually, but tomorrow is going to be actually massive because we are still going to continue with database SQL and it's going to be optimization, real coding. So you don't want to miss. But for the next 5 minutes, I want to give us the next 5 minutes. If you have any question, just go directly into your question, then I will mute your microphone. Thank you so much. You can drop your questions on the chats, or you can decide to raise your hands. So if you have any question, I'm happy to take your question. And Mr. Tosin, Mr. Tomisin is still here. Okay, I think Mr. Tomisin has done a good job. I don't think we have anyone with any question. That means we understood the introduction and the background. Thank you very much, sir. So tomorrow, I don't want to miss, but before you go, I want you to connect to Mr. Tosin. There is a lot that he has, unfolded today. I want you to connect with him on LinkedIn. I'll be dropping his LinkedIn profile link right away. Connect with him and talk to him about SQL. Ask him a question. Make sure you follow him so that you can become a guru. I get someone I was asking if can I become a guru? Yes, you can. You can. So please follow up with him on LinkedIn and also the moderator. You can follow up so we can discuss SQL. So tomorrow, please don't miss the class tomorrow. I believe today's class was really, really valuable. So once again, Mr. Tomisin, we want to say thank you so much. Thank you for coming and we really appreciate
thank you
your
very much,
time.
Samson. So as I take my leave to wrap up the class, I want to say to you, if you have the intention of going to enterprise level data analysis, then SQL is a skill you want to learn and master. And how to master it is practice, starting with small data set. There's something that I would have loved to show us, but time did not permit us. Then I want to encourage you, please check out this website. They give you access to 3 tutorials that can help you to earn your skills as you learn SQL. So like we said, it's also like a programming language. And so the more you write, the better you get at it. And as like something I've said, let's connect on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you after now. Thank you for having me and enjoy the rest of the workshop.
Thank you so much. Now we have to put a full art stop to this class. Thank you. So I'll be expecting you guys tomorrow by 2 p.m. and I'll be sending the details and the link as well. All right. Thank you so much. Have a nice Saturday, weekend and night. Bye all.
Bye everyone. Thank you.